Remember, this entire manga and every manga on this channel is hand-drawn by myself, and now you too can learn exactly how to make your own viral Dragon Ball mangas at www.makemanga.com, where you can learn directly from me. My mangas have got me on TV, on newspapers, and even earned me over $60,000 a month on Patreon alone. And now, you can click the link in the description and pinned comment of this video and do it yourself. You only need to see the website to see just how many thousands of you are taking this opportunity right now. And don't forget also, the next video to this Ultra Vegito series has already been made and is live now on my Patreon right now for over 4,500 of you incredible fans to watch after this. Again, links are in the pinned comment and description. Enjoy. So our story continues with our hero Ultra Vegito, now standing exhausted, bruised, bleeding and badly beaten in the aftermath of his latest clash with the Grand Priest, as he just barely standing up would let out,
"Well, can't say that went exactly as planned, but the training is definitely paying off. It will be enough no matter what Lucif says. He isn't invulnerable to me. The Grand Priest is just another angel on my list. Aren't you, Dai?"
as shockingly standing there, now visibly damaged with his clothing for the first time ripped, the Grand Priest, with his sleeve removed, would angrily respond, You dare to defile the royal garb of the priest, clothing handed down since the beginning of time, for the honor of all priests that came before me. I will make you pay 1,000-fold, God Killer! But unfazed by the changing mood of Dai, Vegito would just smirk, pointing his fingers while goading.
"Upset over that ugly dress of yours? I've seen Chi-Chi wear better to bed. I don't know what kind of fights you've had in the past, but unfortunately for you, when you start messing with the big boys, you expect to get a little dirty. Be happy, all you lost was your sleeve, and not your whole arm, Angel!"
But Dai, almost entertained by the confidence of his mortal foe, would just place his hands behind his back and retort, "Big boys? Are you talking about you three mortals? Surely not. How about you drop the bravado and look around you? Does this seem like a battle that is going your way? The sooner you accept reality, the sooner you can reflect on your mistakes for eternity in the demon realm." Before the priest would then begin pointing around to his surroundings, towards the noise coming from the other battles taking place, mentioning with a devious look, Each of you have struggled, toiled and bled tears of rage for this moment, mimicking the power of gods, learning and attempting our abilities while simultaneously hoping for our deaths, like a bunch of misled hypocrites. In the end though, all you are learning is that mortals imitating are just that. Vegeta is meeting his end currently against the true god of destruction, hand-selected by Beerus himself. And Zeno's friend, Son Goku is learning all too well at the hands of GT that only a student of mine can ever hope to master the seraphim. And only gods need apply. Without me, he is little more than a fraud. And you are no different, except you are cosplaying as a demon. But I'll tell you now, you are no Lucifer. As in the background, both Goku and Vegeta would be shown dealing with their own struggles. And for once, it wouldn't be the words of the God Killer that run deep, but instead, dies that trigger Vegito immediately, as gritting his teeth, he would grumble.
No matter what the situation, you can't seem to look past how inferior you see us mortals. You really think we're trying to be you? You really think I want anything to do with that damn brother of yours who invaded my body without me asking? I'll tell you now, Vegeta may not be a destroyer, and Kakarot may not be an angel, but I am definitely no Lucifer. I am Vegito!
As roaring into the sky with a chip on his shoulder to prove his worth to the cocky god, Vegito would brush away all his injuries and exhaustion, pushing his power level even further above, as lightning and debris from the ground shoots up and surrounds him.
I'll make you respect the power of us mortals!
As with his palm outstretched, Vegito, no longer being able to suffer any more of Dai's words, would shoot straight forward. So fast and with such fury, even the lightning around him would struggle to keep up.
Say hello to some old friends, twerp!
As on approach, suddenly Vegito's eyes would begin glowing, as if unleashing an old technique we haven't seen from the God Killer in a good while.
Welcome to the new 5 strongest in the multiverse!
As instantly, in a shock move, Vegito would appear now, surrounded by 4 members of the 5 strongest, all slain and absorbed by himself, bringing back Guts, Madara, Yamoshi and Makoto, with notably just one member, the 5th and strongest member of the 5, missing in action, with apparently the God Killer taking his place, as Vegito would yell,
"Tell me, Dai, as much as you look down on our kind, did you ever anticipate to face a Saiyan commanding 5 gods at once?"
What? Zeno, have mercy! What are you doing? Leaving Dai completely shell-shocked as he, for the first time, sees in person one of the God Killer's most fearsome techniques. Seeing the acclaimed 5 strongest that the priest had watched and once even been a part of, now approaching towards him in offense. But even Dai would notice something was off, as he mutters, "The new 5 strongest? Wait, where is he? Where is Light?" As almost appearing like the boogeyman on mentioning his name, in an instant behind the priest, the 5th, Light would fly straight behind with his teeth gritted and ready to attack his predecessor. But as the mindless energy apparition would then launch an attack at Dai, the superior priest would almost instinctively dodge immediately, as he would comment, "Light, it pains me to see you like this, but it seems he cannot wield your true strength at least. Do not worry, I will free you from this beast soon enough." As in counter, Dai would then pull his arm back, ready to eviscerate Light's likeness.
What?
But before he can do a thing, the apparition of Light would immediately place its own palm out and remind us of one very unique technique, the fifth hand, specifically against pure angel energy. As Dai immediately, just like Seraphim Goku did in the past, would then be frozen still in place.
What is this? This mortal can utilize your divine techniques also?
Instantly enraging Dai, not only with the situation, but also the sheer ridiculous abilities the God Killer has in his possession. But his anger towards Vegito would prove actually to be the least of his concerns, as while Dai would yell, above, Madara, the second of the 5 strongest, would be right above the now vulnerable Daishinkan, with both his hands clenched together, ready to attack Dai. But that would not be all that would be happening either. As using his own long-forgotten ocular abilities, his own unique eyes would activate, disorientating and paralyzing even further than what Light had already managed on Dai until... Within Dai's own pupils, his seraphim would be removed, and in its place, the same eyes of Madara would be mirrored back, signaling the trance he had now been trapped in, as he would just mutter with all his might,
Madara! You couldn't!
And with perfect precision, possibly for the first time ever in the second's life, Madara would land flush, both arms, for a devastating impact on the priest. So hard that as Dai's head would snap down, blood would shoot out of his regal mouth. But not before his eyes would also return to normal in that instant. Jumping back quickly, having broken from the debilitating abilities after impact, and with most haste, now realizing that Vegito's control over the 5 strongest was more than just vision. And now, worse for wear, completely unseen for the Grand Priest, Dai would be clenching his fist while trembling as he stabilizes himself, and would mutter, This cannot be! How could this Saiyan take control of gods on the level of the 5, and all at the same time? This cannot be allowed to go on any longer. But with wide eyes, it wouldn't be long before Dai is forced to look to his side in despair as... You two! Approaching at lightning quick speeds and already within touching distance with their dual blades unsheathed, Guts and Makoto would be right near the still double disorientated priest until... In a truly shocking sight, almost blasphemous even, the former fifth of the 5 strongest is impaled by the first and fourth. Both straight through the torso, ripping up all, if any, internal organs, as the completely shell-shocked Dai would just look down to the ground in disbelief, muttering, This is not happening! This must be an illusion! But in the distance, another member of the 5 in energy apparition form would be seen, ready to prove this is unfortunately no dream. As with a gruesome roar, this time, the legendary first Super Saiyan God Yamoshi would be seen, powering in signature fashion on the tips of his fingers his most powerful energy attack, as the concentrated ball of energy would grow larger and larger until the gigantic beam would expand instantaneously and be at Dai's doorstep within nanoseconds, with the energy apparition version of Yamoshi giving it his all as if it were the God Killer he was facing yet again. Yamoshi! How? As still unable to get over his disbelief of what he was seeing and feeling, Dai's eyes would just struggle to close as his face would be lost further and further within the luminance of Yamoshi's beam. And ultimately, in a gigantic explosion worthy of being caused by a member of the 5, Dai would be well and truly struck, along with both Guts and Makoto, who had impaled him still. Well, would you look at that? Leaving Vegito finally now back with a smirk on his face, as with his fist resting on his hip, he would watch on at the destruction and think, sometimes I forget just how formidable the 5 really were. Their strength laid in more than just their power levels. Those techniques of theirs will come in handy plenty against these lords. As we would then look on where Dai had been struck and observe nothing but rising ashy smoke all over the screen, it would seem unclear just what state the priest would be in, or whether he was still engaged with the other 2 members of the 5 who had stabbed him. But shockingly, it wouldn't be long after that we would get our answer, as like 2 giant lifeless rocks, the bodies of Makoto and Guts would then fall to the ground motionless, and it wouldn't seem as if they were due to Yamoshi's attack. And soon enough, each of the energy apparitions, now utterly defeated, would then begin to erase back to nothingness. Surprising Vegito as he begins to notice the fading, beaten bodies also, which he would soon reveal should not have been affected by his plans, as he lets out, "What's the meaning of this? These energy apparitions aren't supposed to be damaged by attacks from each other. Did that midget dispose of them before he got hit?" But as the God Killer would wander above the cloud of smoke, the apparition of the second, Madara, would remain silently grunting, watching over where his victim lay. But it seems the partially sentient apparition from his view would begin to notice all is not as it seems from within the smoke. instantly left shocked, frozen, helpless, as in a flash, from within the smoke, a beam of concentrated Saiyan energy would reach his face. And just like that, completely decapitated and erased is the skull of Madara, including his ocular technique like it were nothing, leaving his headless body to just remain there still, ready to eviscerate away, just like Guts and Makoto. And in the next scene, that is exactly what we would see, as the lifeless body begins to crumble. And in the distance, this too would be noticed by Yomoshi, who in his mindless state can only grunt in panic with his eyes wide open and sweating before another Saiyan beam would shoot straight out, and as if with a vendetta against all limbs that had damaged the priest, the beam would cut straight through the arms of Yomoshi in the process too.
What? Damn you!
As soon the God Killer would realize too, his last attack may not have been as successful as he first thought, with Vegito in a panic state yelling out,
"He's cutting through the five like they're nothing! Those energy apparitions are as strong as the real deal! Don't tell me he's..."
Before instantly, Vegito, now figuring out what would be inevitably coming next, would swipe his arm in anger, looking at his final apparition in the air and yelling,
"Light! Don't just dawdle! Control his energy now! Hold him in place before he fires again!"
And hearing this at first, the orders would be hard to follow by the mysterious clone. But sure enough, Light would oblige and spread his palms out once more, aimed at the smoke, attempting to hold Dai and his pure angel energy still once more.
Perfect! Now hold on tight! I'm ending this in a flash!
As after shouting out commands, the God Killer would immediately then stretch out his own arms from side to side, as crackling and ferocious aura begins to surround his body along with dancing lightning. And from the hint of his words, only one signature technique from the Prince of all Saiyans would be being prepared. And as more and more energy would concentrate along with the God Killer's body, tensing and stretching further, finally, with perhaps a naive smirk on his face again, he would giggle.
It's fine. It's all under control. As long as Light's ability work on these guys, both Dai and GT are finished. I'll leave the fake Kakarot for the boys. Brace yourself, midget. This is the end.
But as Vegito would spout this, despite Light's effort, another beam of energy would begin shooting out. But this one would curiously appear slightly different. And as if acutely knowing exactly what was happening, despite his mildlessness, the apparition of Light would just mutter,
Die.
Until out of nowhere, in a truly instantaneous speed, the Saiyan beam would be revealed to be the priest himself. Still alive, hardly any more damage than before, but clearly now taking things far more serious, as while looking deep into the fifth's lifeless eyes, as if addressing an old friend, Dai would say, Light, you were a danger back when I first appointed you as my successor, and it seems, even in death, you remain one. I will make sure your energy never returns to this realm. As now shockingly revealing him not only topless, but with dual wings released, Dai would place his palm out, now in front of Light, ready to put an end to the final member of the five in record time.
Please.
As in the final moments of the apparition's reappearance in the living world, his final words would seem ambiguous as to whether he was begging to stay or begging to be put out of his misery. And now, with his more muscular look more visible, the priest looking down with his seraphim eyes back would just utter out, "Divine erasure!" As in some sort of angelic Hakai, no beam of light or energy would come forth to smite Light, but instead, instantly, his body would erase there and then, like his energy was being lost forever.
He broke through Light's technique!
Surprising Vegito, who continues to power his final flash, who only then begins to realize the changes in Dai's form also, as he comments,
And what's this? Now, just like Kakarot, you two have wings! I guess this means you've powered up once again for little old me, Dai. But I'm afraid it's a little too late!
As Vegito would then place his palms together, forward and
Final!
would begin letting out the first half of his famed attack's name as the energy would begin fluxing all around until combining his destruction energy into it, the final flash would become a final Hakai that shoots straight towards the priest with unimaginable speed. Having traveled so far in a blink of an eye, it would almost seem like a needle at the tip when looked from behind Vegito's shoulder. And testament to its speed, as Dai would turn around, right in his face would be the actual humongous bulbous end of the destructive attack. But with his new form and wings activated, the level of speed and movement increase the Dai Shinken would now possess would cause Dai to hardly even have a hint of panic, not even saying a thing before, as if showing off, Dai would not only dodge and move around the powerful beam in close proximity, but would also twirl around it as he moves forward. At such speed, it would barely be differentiated from moving straight forward to the naked eye.
What the?
And with the God Killer already having his view obscured by his own energy beam, he would be completely taken off guard by Dai's near instantaneous appearance before him until in almost one continuous movement from his flight, Dai would then quickly transition to brutally punching Vegito straight across the face with his left arm, sending the God Killer's head snapping to the side as he is then launched to the ground, while his powerful final Hakai, containing huge amounts of energy, would be seemingly wasted, being let go and traveling high into the sky, into the unknown. A waste that is, until Dai inexplicably would raise his hand, looking down confidently, and then utters, "Angelic Reverse!" As on mentioning of his all-new technique, Vegito's beam on his command, would change trajectory immediately and U-turn back to the God Killer. But completely unbeknownst of this, Vegito would just be on one knee and one arm grunting, with one eye open, as with his teeth gritted, he would struggle to even recover from Dai's last punch, as he would note,
"That priest! His power and speed has gone through the roof! That's for sure. If that strike was any stronger, it would have took my head off. I need to do something about this. I need to..."
But as Vegito would take a moment to try and conjure up a counter-strategy, he would soon realize his surrounding area getting incredibly bright, while his shadow just gets darker and darker, slowly lifting his head up before...
What?
Face to face with the God Killer would be his own signature final Hakai, and with little time to do anything now with how close it is, inevitably, and ironically, in a flash, Ultra Vegito would be met with a gigantic explosion of pure destruction, his entire essence vanishing in its light as the entire battlefield begins to vibrate and shake on the unexpected impact. If this attack was meant to defeat Dai, just what hope does Vegito have? And speaking of Dai, in the sky with his pure white wings, looking more divine than ever before, he would watch over the destruction of the God Killer, satisfyingly never having to even launch an energy beam of his own down. As with his seraphim eyes glowing in full brightness now, as if trying to look through the smoke, Dai would eagerly look down and say, "Huh. Well, what a surprise. I guess you were right, God Killer. It is a little too late. I can sense your energy fleeting, Vegito. Show me, just how many pieces has your fragile mortal body blown up into?" And as we look deep into the thick smoke, Dai's prediction would seem plausible, as not a trace nor shadow can be observed until finally, a glimpse at least of half of Vegito's face would be seen. And at first, it almost appears like he has survived with not much change, with his black head, true demon state still intact. That would be before it is finally shown that Vegito has now actually reverted back to base, completely damaged from the blast, on his knees still, and seemingly having used the last of his energy just to survive. As with his bleeding body barely able to move anymore, he would look to Dai and say,
That was not something I expected from you. You speak of us using your abilities, but in the end, you used my own to defeat me. Even in the last moments, you gods will never fail to be hypocrites.
But Dai, who would now be smirking wildly at Vegito's outclassing, would just respond, "You should feel honored that I even wielded such a pathetic attack of yours, even momentarily. But truth be told, I'm surprised it had that much of an effect on you. How unbefitting of the mortal considered Lucifer's next vessel. What he saw in you, I will never know, but this battle is now over." No! Vegito, you're done already? But the sound of the God Killer down and out once more would bring Zeno to tears yet again, as just when he thought his show could carry on, Dai would bring the curtains down in an instant.
No!
And as Vegito would struggle and fail to try and rise even a little bit more off his knee, he would grumble, replying to the Omni King,
As much as I want that little freak dead, it kinda feels bad to let him down. Is this really all that's left for me?
"It is all that is left for you, God Killer." As now arriving on the ground right beside Vegito, Dai would interrupt and say, "I'm sorry to let you down, Lord Zeno, but no matter how many times he tries to return, he always comes to disappoint. These Saiyans are always just talk, as most mortals are. Unfortunately, our God Killer here will never live up to your expectations, just as I told you before, when he first bluffed about this new form." Before Dai would then turn behind towards the other Saiyans and continue, "If it pleases you though, my lord, once I'm finished sending this one down to the demons, I will play with your friend Son Goku for a little while longer, until you are satisfied. Maybe he will be able to change his hair color."
Huh? What's going on?
As hearing themselves being mentioned, first Goku and then Vegeta would soon turn and notice the situation arising with Vegito. Just like last time, but with the two struggling themselves and badly beaten. Their panic would be on another level, as Goku would then yell, "Oh no! Vegito's back in base! He must be in trouble again! Vegeta! We still have time though! We need to do something!" And Vegeta, still grabbing his arm in pain, would angrily reply,
That damn fool! Forget trying to help. Let's just fly straight into him. If he doesn't want to fuse, we'll force it. This plan of his is not working. Come, Kakarot! Stop right there!
But shockingly, with what little energy he has left, Vegito would wildly just yell back with a clenched fist, defiantly,
You do nothing. Nothing but carry on your battles like I told you to. I said you could join when you'd finished them off, and neither of you have come close. This is my battle and my death to bear. Joining will make no difference. Who do you think you weaklings are compared to me?
leaving both Goku and Vegeta now stunned with the God Killer's reply. As now left near speechless, the prince would just mutter out,
What is this clown saying?
But there would hardly be much time for the duo of Saiyans to reflect on those words anymore, let alone disagree in any way, as both GT and Destroyer Goku would then continue their assault regardless. They may have been easy to get away from previously, but in their current states, it would be them who call the shots. Dai, of course, though, hearing this nonsensical interaction between the mortals, would just laugh, as he comments, "And yet again, this foolish Saiyan pride strikes, refusing help while on your knees. A novel strategy, I'll give you that, God Killer, but it will elicit no less punishment." As the priest would then slowly begin walking forward to Vegito, step by step. Confusing Vegito momentarily, as the Saiyan would try his best to pull his head up until...
What?
his efforts would be made in vain, as disrespectfully, Dai would then just place his foot on the head of the God Killers, holding it down as the weakened Vegito would just be forced to do nothing back. As Dai, pushing harder and harder, would devilishly smirk, looking down and let out, "You see, mortal, this is your fate. The fate you had always had since birth. To be under the foot of the gods who watch over you. This is reality, and no matter what you do, how much power you steal, how much of an abomination you turn into, in the end, a mortal will never truly surpass the gods." And Vegito, taking in these words and the severity of the situation, with simply no more strength left within him to rebel, would then begin to reflect.
He's right. What was this all for? All the gods I killed, the power I absorbed, the people I hurt. Why wasn't it enough? What was this all for?
It was for nothing, God Killer! And quickly to add insult to injury, Dai would not even let Vegito finish his thoughts, continuing now, looking more demonic than angel. "All those gods and angels you killed were nothing more than creations of Zeno and I. When you're gone, we will simply appoint more in replacement. More than likely far stronger than their predecessors, and without the same millennia of wisdom. I would not be surprised if they were even more callous in their treatment of the mortals. All you did was make things far worse for everyone. Your friends remain dead, and you remain a disgrace to your kind. Your family, not even just dead, are actually erased. Erased forever. Trapped in a void of nothingness for eternity. Find some solace only in that your children will never grow up to see the monster their father became. A murderer, a ruiner of timelines, and a sad excuse for a man who could not even keep a promise to bring them back." And with that, Vegito would be left speechless, as his head ducks further down until his face and emotional expression is just lost in darkness. These final words seem to have been the final blow for the God Killer's morale. But curiously, as his head would bow, black lightning would begin to emerge, and eventually even singe the bottom of Dai's trousers in the process. And Dai would take notice with some surprise, as he notices something building within the God Killer. Behind him unknowingly though, at this point, his whole background would become pitch black. What? What magic is this now? But with his instincts, with his foot still on Vegito's head, he would soon look around confused, trying to figure out what was going on. Until he would look up and... No! You! His seraphim eyes would disappear entirely in shock, as looking above Vegito, inexplicably, a far scarier sight would be seen. As behind Vegito in the darkness, the devil himself would appear with a beaming smile. No longer chained, it would seem, with his blood-red eyes piercing into Dai's soul. Lucifer! And immediately the priest would tremble, recognizing once more his brother. who he had thought was defeated by his smile. What? But there would be no time whatsoever to think, as in an instant, the giant creature would then grab onto the exposed wing of the priest as if he were a common bird, until...
I told you, midget!
I told you it was too late, brother!
As suddenly screaming with strength, pushing away Dai's foot with his head alone, Vegito would reveal himself with a demonic voice and scream, with his right eye blackened now and clearly using Lucif's power yet again, while his left side is left with a blank eye as if having gone berserker. And in brutal fashion, Lucif would then immediately act and rip the divine angel's wing straight from Dai, leading to the almighty god to let out his greatest and most pain-ridden scream of his entire existence. It seems the God Killer is not out of this battle just yet, but at what cost? But that was it for today's video, guys, and if you made it this far, leave me a hashtag new form in the comments down below, and let me know just what you think Vegito is doing now. Big mistake or big W? Or just head over to my Patreon right now, where you can see the full next video, fully voice acted, soundtracked, and edited for you to enjoy with over 4,700 other fans, as well as getting access to 250 plus other fan mangas too. It's the deal of the century.